This conference will now be recorded.
Hi everyone, so very warm welcome to the next session on SAP Cloud Platform Integration Suite. My name is Sam. So we'll just quickly start the session. We'll just see what we have discussed in our last session, and from there only we'll just take it forward. So guys, in case if someone has joined the session for the first time, I hope there are new people in this group. So just guys, in case if you're not able to relate with anything, so just a humble request, okay, no issues. Go through the sessions might be this coming week, and in case you have a question, I'm available. Okay, so I can just plan on Wednesday some 30-minute slot if you want me to fill up with any kind of information. So my support is there for 100% on that part. So let me quickly go on to the screens. So yeah, I think yesterday we started discussing about, okay, I think the first thing we started with the pre-packaged content. How many of you get a chance pre-packaged content? So we discussed about how to create packages, getting from a discover mode to your edit mode, and there are a few more things. But I think before going into that aspect of a system, because now going forward, we just have to practice it out, everything. Now, quick thing, anyone, is there anyone who didn't get a chance to set up a trial account? Anyone? For new people, it's okay. For new people, I think we can just keep it out. For earlier people, I think some people drop me mail. I think for few we have got sorted out.
Yeah,
How
I
about
did it.
others?
Uh, this is Anil.
Hi.
I tried to set up the trial account.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm almost reached to the last step. I have one step pending, like assigning the roles.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, my trading partner, what is that? Trading partner management is still running. It is taking time. It is 40% completed and it is failing.
What is exactly is a trading partner? Sorry, I'm not sure.
So can I share my
API
screen?
management. Okay, I'll just do one thing. We'll just keep the last 15 minutes as a parking
Uh,
slot where we
yeah.
can just discuss on all these points. Okay,
So
but
yeah,
guys,
in the
mhm.
instance setup, like instance and subscriptions, like I have chosen cloud integration, API management, integration advisor, trading partner management, and open connectors.
Instead of trading
Like
partner, I think it should be EDI advisor, but that's okay. Anil, so we'll just
I
do one
think
thing. We'll
trading
just
partner was
discuss.
not required. Sam, I think you mentioned trading partner is not required. There are
okay,
5 checkboxes. We have ignored one of the checkboxes, that is trading partner.
Correct, correct,
okay,
correct, correct, correct.
then it is not
Okay,
required. Okay,
guys, no issues. But I think, guys, in case if you're struggling it out, okay, yes, I'm there to help you. But that's my personal suggestion. Personal suggestion to you is just okay. In case if you're not able to solve it out, just still stick to the problem and just try to fix it yourself. Okay, because the reason is you come to me, definitely I'll be able to help you out. The point is,
sure.
in case if you're able to play around with the burn services now, I can guarantee you today you are playing on the BTP. Tomorrow, if you go on to Microsoft or GCP, anywhere in case you have to enable a service now, then you will have some kind of a mindset. Might be
Yeah,
the naming of the word convention will be different, but I will still suggest that please go and just work yourself. In case if it does not work out, I'm there as a backup. Just come to me and ask, okay, what is the steps? Cool. So I hope again, I think for the new people also, I think I've just shared this trial document. I think now the steps have been reduced drastically. Okay. I think the major is creating a sub account, going to instances subscription, going to then your SAP integration suite capabilities, enabling it, then your roles, and that's it. Now the steps has been drastically reduced. Okay, so there are some extra steps, but that's okay. Might be the last part of keys is important, so I'll might be show you all these things. Now let me just quickly go back. Okay, what we have discussed now, let's say quickly. Okay, perfect. So now, guys, I think what few things we have discussed. I think we discussed that how from our BTP cockpit we got a CPI URL. Now, one thing I just want to focus it out because in case if people might have new, I don't want that step to miss out. Okay. So now, guys, if you just look at, I think this is my URL for my cloud platform integration. I think your real-time URL would look like this mostly. So just remember that as in on-premise, we used to have a specific your system and the tenant. Okay. might be PQI or any kind of a system. So same way in your cloud service or whatever the service we are trying to access through a browser, we have a specific unique number to identify a customer's unique tenant. Okay, so if you look at in your browser on the top, it would be enable some kind of a unique ID. Only two things are important: unique ID and this region part. Okay, so yesterday we have seen that okay, we have got a URL, we landed here on this particular page. We see there are four important steps. We discussed about APIs and integration. How does my integration content look like? Okay, APIs part we're going to discuss later. Now I think core focus going forward for a few days will be on integration only. So when we're just talking about integration, we know now how to actually locate our packages. Then once we do understand that part, how to locate our package based on the filter available onto the screen. What was the next step? How to actually play with the packages. When I say the word play with the packages, now let's say in case if there is a requirement. Okay, there is a requirement for any of your uh, standard package. Now let's say if this is the one. Okay, so we have seen there are two different kind of a modes, editable and configurable. Then in case if I want to take it to the design space where I am going to actually build it or configure it, so that has to come into discover. So once I do a copy, it comes into my design space. Okay, now yesterday what we have seen is that how we can copy a package, configurable package, editable package. Then what we have seen is that now let's say in case if we have any kind of a package which is available. Now let me So now let's say if this is the one. Now let's say in case if you want to have download specific iFlow. Now let's say if you don't want to copy a specific complete package, you can just quickly click on download and you will be able to get into your system, and then you can just upload it out. Okay, so that is everything is possible. Now comes to the design part of it. Now when I say the word design, so we have created one package which is ZX. Okay, I think this is the package we have created here. New custom package we have created. Once I click on edit, I was able to add a specific iFlow, okay, which I need into my system. Now guys, it's so beautiful. Now sometime I've seen it most of the time when people are moving your transport content from a one system to another system. Okay, so instead of actually using a transport management service, some people download a package and just upload package into your production system. And this functionality of uploading iFlow is very simple. So I really want that initial days na just get acclimatized to this particular screens. Okay, what are the options here? Okay, what was option in the discover part? What was option here? What is this version? When I click on this arrow, what will happen? Okay, or now let's say in case if I choose a package. Okay, so once you click here on this arrow, it will actually step into the iFlow only. But now let's say in case if you choose, what are the different kind of options which will get enabled here? Okay, so you have multiple options here into the screens. After that, what we have discussed, so we discussed that how okay, this was on API portal on different things. This is on packages. Okay, I think this was an important part. So whatever or whenever we have to design your iFlow might be a process, but I think good word is always a process for your data replication. Okay, in that particular case, you have a different kind of graphical options available to you. Okay, so we talked about this is the standard business process model notation. It's called as a BPMN notations, which gives us the standard and a readability across the different kind of a middleware tools where we can understand what is the specific property or what is the specific icon do. So here we just talked about first icon. Icon has a circular symbol, and you will see it is for different kind of events. I gave you a very small example on this message. It looks a blank because there is a request inbound request is going to hit at this particular place, and then it's going to fill a packet, and then from here you will start your message. Same way at your end, the message will be completely filled. That's why this is completely dark out. Dark out means there is a message payload into it. We talked about activities. Activities is some kind of this rectangular box where it is doing some kind of action. Then we have gateways. Gateways are usually with a diamond shape. Okay, and this is mostly for your decision making. When I say decision making, I gave you one small example of a router where based on a specific condition, what specific path it has to take it out. Okay, so that is your diamond shape. Then we have this connection. Again, I think it is again there is a relevance to it. What so we have two type of connection. This dotted lines, which is for your connections to the outside, and when we're just talking about this continuous lines, okay. So when I say this continuous line, this is a sequence flow of your integration flow into this main palette. So this is what we have talked about, and I really want that anytime if you're going for any kind of interviews, you people do understand the basics. Okay. It's not like that SAP simply started feeling, let me put like this or that. No, everything has a logic. And trust me, going forward, once we are done with like 7, 8, 9 sessions, I'm 100% sure any kind of flow will come. You will simply say, okay, Sam, so this is a modifier, this is a script, this is your external request reply call. So you will be able to quickly understand what is a process director adapter is doing out here. So you will be able to understand the things. So what else? Yeah. So this is what we have discussed in our session, but I'm sure everyone want to see, Sam, when we are going to create first integration flow. We have talked a lot. Now help us to build integration flow. Let's see how things work out. Perfect. So today I think we'll be looking at how to actually build our integration flow into the system. So now when I say the integration flow, what do I mean by it? Now, I assume I don't know anything. I just want to see. I send a message request or a message payload from outside into the CPI system and how it's going to get processed as such. So now when I'm talking about that particular bit, so what I can do is, so first I would look at, in case if I want to build an integration flow, what type. So I'm sure everyone do understand that if I want to create an integration flow, custom integration flow, it should be of type integration flow. We'll talk about all the different types, but now let me just create first integration flow. Let me click on this. Let me say that custom first integration flow. Okay. In case if you have a sender or receiver, so now let's say in case if you have defined which is a sender system or a receiver system, it's a good practice. It's a good practice if you can do it. Click on OK. Your iFlow is created. Now I'm very much interested. Now first time when your integration flow is created, just look at all the things. Your name, type, your version, and then you have some kind of actions available. Now let's say in case if I want to go inside and build something, so I'll just click on this particular part. Okay, and this is the base, okay, or this is the scratch from where we have to develop or where we have to create our first integration flow. Now just talking about this particular screen or this graphical editor here. So I think this is a canvas for us to play around with the things. But definitely now let's say in case if I want to build any kind of integration flow or any kind of graphical designing, not designing, I think just putting the options. For us, it's very important that how or what are the different kind of tools are available. Okay, because then only you will be able to understand with what I can play. Now I'm just gonna talk about the most important thing here on this CPI palette. So this is a palette, okay, where you will see different kind of options. Now, first option again, this is not just 2 month or 2.5 month back this feature was released. This is a copy. This is a paste. This is your receiver sender. So now let's say this is sender or receiver. So this is in case if you want to add multiple receiver for a message, might be if it has to go to multiple receivers. So you can just quickly click on receiver, and once you click on the option, and you can just place outside. Same way you can just quickly delete it also. So today I'll just take you through all this option. I really want, I'm just gonna put one chart here also in my slide. Please just make sure that you know all this bit. Okay, I don't want that people don't know what are the different kind of options which are available. Now we have first participant. sender, receiver. Then we have process, your exception, integration, local integration process. Now, the intention of talking through this palette is not that you can just consume in day one. Definitely not at all. Okay. Only the idea is just to walk you through, okay, what are the options, because you're going to come multiple times at all these options. So participant, we have receiver, sender, we have, okay, we have here exception, integration, local, events. Now you see there are different kind of events which are available. End event, end message, end error event, error start, escalation, start event, start message, terminate message, and then we have a timer. Now think of a case, how many different kind of events in system probably can be there. Okay, we do have different kind of events available, and everything has a logic. I'm going to talk about today on few. This is just for connection, deletion. This is three lines. This is the heart of any kind of integration tool, which is the message mapping, ID mapping, operation, and XLT mapping. Core focus will be on the message mapping part. So just remember, on the three parallel lines, there is a mapping concept. Now, when I say the word mapping, why I'm just stressing on this particular part? Last time when I was just talking about, I think, where is that particular screen? You remember we were talking about there is a SAP ERP, there is a non-SAP Salesforce system. Now, if I want to pass a data format is there, or might be I do need to map into some different format. Okay, or might be or the transformation or some kind of a logic required. So there is a lot of things which can get sorted out into the message mapping. Again, ID mapping is new. Operation is again for a specific scenario. Is it more related to POPI? XLT is again one kind of a mapping. This is, people say, I think this is one of the most fastest way for your message processing. Okay, in case if you're using an XLT mapping, again, definitely it's a good option, but again, it's a bit complex compared to your message mapping. But in message mapping also, you do have different kind of utilities, function utilities are available. Then after that, again, this is again one of the most important. This is message transformers. So here you have different kind of options like content modifier, converters like CSV to XML, JSON to XML, XML to CSV, XML to JSON, decode, EDI extractor, encoder, base64 gzip, meme zip. Then we have filter, message digest, we have script, we have an XML modifier. Trust me, because I have seen so much change in this particular tool. I will once definitely just put one my old video just for your reference. You will see how much it has changed. This complete palette was here. Bit of persona has been changed. Simulations, copy paste, search step. Earlier it was nothing. The steps was there. So this is for your transformation. Next is for your routing. I mentioned router, multicast. So again, this is for decision making. Again, this is for your security, decryptor, encryptor. Then we have your signer, we have your verifier, we have your data stores, data store operations like delete, get, select, write, persist, write variable, and then we have your persistence again. Okay, this is your validator, EDI validator, and your XML validator. Now, if you just look at this whole set of functionality in the palette on the top, there are so critical, because these are the only tools you have while designing your integration flow. And trust me, for few, like 70% you will see content modifier, script, or some kind of connector is used. So this is it's very important for any kind of integration developer who is deploying things into CPI, that he really knows where are the different kind of options which are available. So please, I hope everyone now has a trial system. Okay, now you have an access. So please just do one important thing, that please come to the system and just explore the option. Again, look the option holistically. Okay, these are the options available here in the palette. Now today, what exactly is our scenario? What we are going to build it out. Okay, so for this first integration flow, what I'm going to do here is this particular time, I'm just gonna put few things. So now let's say if this is my CPI system and I'm going to send a request from outside. When I say the word out, when I say outside, so currently I think I can use any kind of a tool. Might be I can use SOAP UI, or I can use Postman tool to send my request, message request into this particular CPI. Okay. And then might be I transform the message. Might be I can just take any kind of a sample or sales order, whatever the visual I have available with me, I think SOAP based, and I'm going to send a request to the CPI. So this is my simple scenario for today, just to show you how you can just send a message packet till CPI, because once your message packet reaches to CPI, then you are sure message has been reached. Now how you can actually transform it using the different kind of options available into this packet. Now quickly, what are the different steps we are going to look at here? First is, I think, design your integration flow. I'm just going to just read a payload, that's it. Second, once you design it, second important step here is you deploy the integration flow. Okay, second is first you design it, then you deploy it, okay, and then you monitor it. So these are the simple three steps. Why the word? I think I could have written it out, design and deploy. I think there is a specific thing whenever you do your iFlow save, then you have to very specifically deploy the particular step here. Now these are the few steps. Now we'll just do one by one. Now first thing is, now let's say if this is my palette which is available where I want to work with iFlow. Now this is my sender system. Again, I have a receiver here. Now let's say if I'm talking about this particular case where I want to say, where from outside I want to send a message request to the CPI system, what are the options through which I can send it out? Okay. So if you just look at, so now anytime if you select any component, so it will get highlighted with blue anywhere. Okay, might be anywhere you highlight, it get highlighted. So this will tell you which option is selected because there are corresponding properties related to it. Now, the first thing is if I just select this particular sender, so below you will see the name. That's very straightforward. You can just see here also it is written. If you click onto it, this is a technical name of that particular component. Now, why I'm just saying technical component, does it really use? So now let's in case if you have developed some iFlow using standard options and there is error, SAP says give us the trace, technical IDs and all lot of things. So for any component, there are technical IDs. You just click onto the information page and you will be able to see it out. Now let's say this is my sender. I want to connect it to this particular start. Okay, that I'm going to send a message from the sender to the start. Now, once I'm talking about from sender to start, now what will actually happen at this specific stages? So we come across the concept of adapters. Now, what exactly is the word adapter, or how does it actually help? So now guys, just understand in a way, in a very lame way. So now let's say you are now let's say if you are now as you are in the China or might be in a China state. So now let's say from there, if I want to send a message to the US, okay. Now we need to make sure that message which goes to US get adapted. When I say the word adapted, might be if you use a type of adapter or type of way so that it gets properly your reach to your US part. Now same way for different messages, there are different kind of adapters. Might be now let's say if I want to pass a message of IDOC type, I have a one. For Ariba, which specifically use CXML. Okay, and now let's say in case if I want to throw a message of CXML. So I'm going to use a Reba adapter. Same way for success factor, there is a adapter for SOAP, for SFTP, process direct, OData. So there are different kind of adapter which can actually take the data in a specific format and can pass it to the CPI. As simple as that. Now let's say in my case, I have a message type SOAP and I want to pass it to the CPI. So in that particular case, I'm going to use a SOAP adapter here. Okay. It is about connectivity or getting a request or message request from outside to the CPI part. Now, once I choose a SOAP adapter, so again for SOAP, there are two things. I'll just talk about might be in the next session bit on message processing steps and all the things. What are those? Again, RM stands for reliable messaging. 1.x again 1.1 or 1.xx stands for 1 or 2. When now again there is a concept here comes into SOAP. So when you are sending a message, okay, so there are two kind of a message. One is synchronous, where you send a request and you expect a response. Till the time you don't get a response, your session will be there. And the second option we have is asynchronous one. What is asynchronous message? Now let's say if I throw a message onto the CPI part and that's it for me. I am not going to expect any kind of a response from the CPI. That is asynchronous message, asynchronous. Now again, RM is your reliable messaging. Again, I think it's a more simplified asynchronous, whereas your SOAP1.x is kind of a synchronous message. So now let's say in case I am going to choose 1.x. Okay, now you see it is automatically has selected the SOAP adapter or the connectivity part. Now again, I think it all depends on this below option. What are the different kind of properties we have for different boxes? So now let's say if I'm talking about this SOAP, okay. So here there are different set of properties for specific adapter. Might be because based on some kind of might be for SOAP it will be this specific properties, might be OData it will be different, might be OData might be for IDOC it will be different. So for every property you choose, there are different set of properties here, okay, below based on what configuration is needed. So now let's say if in case if I'm talking about a SOAP, again, it's important. So first time when you are here, just make sure you read it. Okay. Let's not jump it out. Okay, this is first of all, I have to go connection, I have to give address. Forget that particular part here. Here you see the name. Okay, then you have a direction. This is sender, system, adapter type, transport protocol is HTTP, message protocol is a 1.x. Okay, we got the information that okay, the TP for this is HTTP and MP is SOAP 1.x. Now I'll move on to the next part, connection. Okay, so now here you will see this highlighted this field. Now the good part here is in case if there is any kind of a field which is mandatory from a configuration perspective, this will get automatically highlighted with a red part. So if you look at here for address, we see this particular property highlighted with red because this is the important thing. Coming to the next, which is a service definition. If it's a manual or a WSDL file, if you choose a WSDL, you might have to update a WSDL. So in case if you don't understand what is a WSDL, web service definition language, let's forget because our goal or intention is to create first indication flow. So I'll just keep it manual. Again, you have web service addressing and so many different fields. But before go on to the next fields, I just want to talk about one very beautiful feature of SAP because that's how your good or beautiful products are designed. Now let's say if this is an address field and you're not sure what is the meaning of it, you just hover over to it and you will see a pop-up of this text will be enabled, which says very clearly that relative endpoint address on which ESB bus listens to the incoming request, for example, /payment. Now I think this word, I think it defines a lot in itself. Okay, the first is relative endpoint address on which the ESB bus, your ESB enterprise service bus. And for example, they have given us /payment. Now in case for this particular iFlow, now let's say I want a message from outside. Okay. But for sender also, or the sender should also know where exactly you have to drop that particular message packet. So this is the address we are defining it out here. Now, in case if I have to define it for my this integration flow, I can just put / JDX first flow. Okay, anything with a / you can just do it. Please don't use a special character as such, how much I know. Just use simple lines. So in my case, I've just said ZX integration flow. So again, same way now for, let's say, for use WS, web service addressing, uh, if you see this option, it says very clearly, use this option to activate web service addressing to this endpoint. The sender is then expected to define web service addressing header. So now let's say I don't think so in my case, I need this kind of information. So I'll just skip it. Authorization role is your user role. In case if you want to enable a certificate also, you can do that particular part. So now let's say in case if I'm sending a request, I want to make this communication certificate based, you can do that particular part. But now I'm not in a hurry. I just want to keep it like your user role, which is my ESB messaging dot send. Does anyone remember that where we have seen this word ESB messaging dot send? Anyone?
And I use it in the roles, the authorization group,
Sorry, in the roles part you say?
in the
Correct.
authorization objects.
Yeah, in the roles also, in the roles, initially, if you go through it, if you go through the slides, I think here I was talking about the roles, and I have mentioned that whenever you have to give anyone roles, for this node, IFL map ESB messaging dot send has to be enabled. So now today I'll just show you what exactly I do mean by that part. So now let's say I am able to define some parameters here, might be your address, service definition, web service addressing, exchange parameters, a request reply. I can do request reply or a one way. One way is again your asynchronous, request reply is your synchronous part. Let me just put it out here. So synchronous is a request reply and your asynchronous is a one way. Now, I think we have seen these things, web services security. Okay, currently I think I'll just keep it none. Currently we don't need to enable anything as such. Conditions also that, okay, what exactly is the maximum size of a message, okay, or which is coming to the system. So I've just kept 40 MB, I think, which is a huge. And again, for your attachment and size, it's a 120. In case if you want to see, it just says maximum body size in MB, that's nothing else. But I'm sure you would be saying, Sam, now let's say if we are able to see that particular payload, now what else we can see, or might be what interesting thing, what will be able to see if the message packets come into the CPI system. So now let's just do one thing. Now let's just try to make it a bit interesting. So what I'm gonna do here is, so now let's say whatever the request comes from this particular SOAP UI or postman from outside. Now let's say if I want to read a specific field. Now when I say I want to read a specific field, might be, let's say, based on a payload, I want to read might be order number, okay? Or I just want to show you how can I do that particular part into the CPI system, because then only you will be able to relate it out. So, or before that, what we are gonna do is, now let's say in case if you have done it, just make a save. So your changes is enabled. Now let's say in case I want to read your payload, okay, into the CPI. But I'm sure you would be asking, Sam, without seeing a payload, what you are going to read here in the system. So yes, the point is fair. So what I'm going to do here is, for this particular course, we are going to use SOAP UI, and we are going to use actually your business technology. We are going to use SOAP UI, and a postman for sending your request. So now let's, in case if I want to work with the SOAP UI, okay, so I have already a SOAP UI installed in my machine.
What is SOAP UI?
Okay, good. So now let's, in case if we have any SOAP based payload, now let's, in case if I want to send it from the outside to the CPI, and this is might be it can be like simulator for me for pushing that particular payload into the CPI box. Okay, so now let's start with the basic here. Okay, so now we have this different kind of a tools for testing it out. Okay, for your SOAP payloads. So just search SOAP UI for free for Windows. I think this is a specific URL for it, soapui.org.
We can try with the postman also, right?
Yeah, for anything you can just play around it. So first you come to soapui.org. Okay, and then what you can do is here we have this SOAP UI open source, because we don't paid versions. We want some kind of a free version. So it says for developers and testers looking to accelerate their ability to deliver REST or SOAP or graphical APIs. SOAP open source is the simplest, easiest way to begin your API testing. So now when I click on get started new, okay, so here you should be able to download it out. Okay, so this is the free version, you can actually download it. So once you download the SOAP UI version, so what you can do here is, and now in this particular option, so your screen will look like this. Okay, so you will not have any kind of a project. You will have SOAP, REST, import, save. This is how your screen of SOAP UI look like. Now let's say I want to send a SOAP based request. Okay, so how can I play around with that particular part? So here you have an option of a SOAP. Select SOAP. So first of all, I need to provide a visual for it. So I do have some visual. Might be I'll help you out to. I'll also share with you guys so that you can actually use it. So here we have send orders, get shipping order details, send order list. So I'm going to use different information. So for this particular part, I'm going to use send order asynchronous. I'll click on, I'll just give this name. I'll say, okay, so I'll just provide whatever the project name you want to give it, and I'll just click on OK. So once you click on OK, so what will happen here is you have a request. If you click on the request, so this is your message payload structure. So now let's say your payload can be different at a different time. So now this is my based on my WSDL. So this particular WSDL has an order structure, okay, which you can see it here. So now let's say in case if I want to throw that particular request into the CPI. So yeah, this is how it look like. So this is how you can start working with the SOAP UI tool. So just first download the free version. Just create a SOAP based project. I'll give you the visual, might be after this particular call. And what you can do is you can just add here, and then might be you can just push your request from SOAP UI to the CPI part. Now currently we don't have the endpoint at which I'm going to hit my request. So now let's say what we do quickly is, now let's say in this particular structure, I want to read might be an order number. Okay. So now this is an XML which is going inside my CPI system, and then how can I actually read this into here into the CPI? So that's what we are going to look at. Now the first thing here, what I'm going to do here is, now the most used option in overall CPI is a content modifier. Okay. Now again, if once I hover over to the content modifier option, which is available in the transformers, so this is my message transformers. Remember that, okay? So content modifier, if I say, it says modify incoming message with an additional information. So now let's say if I just click onto this content modifier, Once you click onto this, once you bring arrow anywhere closer to this integration process, you will get enable it out. So if you put in this line on this sequence, once you click left, right click, so what will happen is it will actually get connected. Okay, it will get connected into the particular sequence. Now again, I think the beauty is there is a technical ID for your content modifier, and if you look at below, the options are different. Okay, the option will be different for all the different properties. You see, for SOAP we have different options. For content modifier we have a different kind of options here. Now we have here message header, exchange property, your message body. So we do have a different kind of options which are available. Now if I go one by one, so now let's say message header, if you just look at add, so you will be able to see a line entry headers and source type. You will see constant, expressions, global variables, headers, local variable, number range property, and XPath. So there are huge amount of options which are available, and everything has a business use case. Okay, if you're talking about number range, property, local variable, header, everything has as a use case. Same way, if you go on to the property, click on add, and if I show you the type, again there are different kind of options. And I'm sure there are a few of the people who would be thinking, Sam, how does it make sense on a content modifier? There are two options, header and properties, and we see the different same options available in the type option. So how we're going to use it out. So I'm just going to show you practically also what exactly the difference between a header and a property. But yeah, you can easily add. If you want to delete it, you will be able to delete that part also. I think the last when we go, I think down the line, the course we'll be just talking about memory optimization. Okay, because once your iFlow is huge, I think memory plays a very critical role. Don't expect that whatever SAP has given in the cloud now I can just use anything for as much I want. Okay, there is a memory limit, and once your iFlow gets bigger and bigger, so it consumes a lot of memory, runtime memory. That particular time, it is very much suggested that we have to have some kind of optimized iFlows. The last tab here is the message body. So 99.99% is there in an iFlow. Content modifier will be there only. It's like one of the favorite childs in CPI. This will be used, content modifiers. So now I'm just going to tell you quickly how to read this your let's say order number. I want to read it out. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do here is I am just going to message header. Here in this particular name, I can just give any name. Now let's say if I say um, order number, anything you can just give here as such. So this is a field with which you want to you want to call it out. Order number I've given, source type. Now just do remember that this again as a practical. Anytime if anything or any kind of XML input which you want to read into the CPI, you have to use an XPath. Okay, XPath is a specific source type which will tell you, okay, that in the incoming payload what you need to read out. So XPath is an important identifier or a source type, because it looks, XPath is like, it tells that I need to look into the XML coming document and what I need to read out here. Now coming to the second important part, which is my source value. So here, in case if you hover over to it, currently I don't think as such it will show you anything. Now anytime if you want to read any kind of incoming payload, any specific field, make sure that label you just copy the exact. Okay, somewhere the copy paste helps. Make sure you put identifier with // and you have to give order number as such here. Okay, so this is what you have to give out. Then you have to provide the data type, which is your java dot lang dot string. Okay, so you can actually provide the data type for the same. Now what you do once you have done this particular part, now I think we need to validate it out, that is Sam really saying the right thing? Are we able to read your variable here into the order number or not, or how can actually we see that particular part. So yes, let's just look that particular part. So now let's say, I think today we are just taking a baby step. So let's say if I'm able to make sure that this payload comes rightly into the system, okay, and then might be whatever the next steps we are going to use to build our more integration flow sets. Might be script, might be request reply, might be an exceptions of process, might be local, might be reading a custom header, might be reading some kind of a Groovy script. So there are multiple steps, okay. But what we are going to do is currently in this part, seeing a payload is coming out, and if you're able to read a specific value or not, that's it, nothing else. Okay, so I'll just do a save here. Any kind of questions, anyone? By the time, any question here, anyone?
Yes. I have couple of questions.
Okay, you
Like
have
what is
couple of
difference?
hmm? Just a second.
What is
I just
difference between SOAP UI and what is name? Postman something? Postman. What is that?
again, I think both are used for your simulations only as such. Okay, let me see this.
Okay,
Let
so
me
both are similar.
qualify.
Okay.
Okay, there is one
Like
property.
what we should use?
Just a second. No, okay.
Okay.
Because I think I have just multiple packages with the same names. I just want to validate out if you're not making any change. Yeah, sorry. I think both are used to send your payloads only, I think, into the system. So now let's say if I use Postman, again, using a Postman also, you can actually send your or simulate or test. Okay. So now I think the easy part with both the SOAP and Postman, I think Postman again has a lot of pre-packaged features. Now once you give API, automatically a lot of things will get picked up. Again, for SOAP, I think I might be, I'm an old guy. We used to use SOAP a lot than your OData or other REST-based services. So I'll show you both SOAP and REST.
Okay.
Both will be used to send the specific payloads to CPI and then just play around with the things.
Sam, in this integration, we are connecting with which system? I mean, from where we are reading the data?
So I think you can just do multiple things. So as I mentioned here, we can use a success factor. We are going to use a C4C cloud. We are going to use an open data APIs, which is your for OData part.
No, in this example, the one you are just showing.
So currently in this particular example, what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to send a request from outside. I'm going to send a request from the SOAP UI tool as such.
So SOAP-UI, it's a just mediator, right?
It's
To
not
read
a
the data.
mediator. No, I'm just using this as a simulator to send a request from this particular to CPS. It's not a mediator. Who told you SOAP UI is a mediator?
Just a simulator.
Yep.
Simulator, okay.
So it for any now let's in case if you want to send any kind of payloads, so it just help you to simulate from both the tools, Postman and SOAP.
Okay, and from where that SOAP UI is getting the data? Let's say sales or order information from
I
which
have
system?
added a visual. So now this is not receiving a system. You remember that initially first step while creating a SOAP project, I have added a visual. So visual is your web service definition language, which is like a schema it provides that how your structure should look like. So from there, it has added a structure. I'm going to fill the details, so like order number, customer name, order amount, currency, and tax amount.
Okay.
Okay. So let's
Okay.
just see one scenario, because I know when we go into the integration, it's very different from other like application or the configuration part. So just see one scenario. If there is anything comes up, we can just again go through it, because I know for one or two it will be required. After that, they should be easy.
Sam, you
Now,
have given data type as Java .lang .string. Is it the default data type we're supposed to use, or just for this example?
sorry, come again. So I think it all. I think for reading anything as a string, so you have to provide the data type java.lang.string. In case if you have any other requirement, might be read to something very specific, might be anything So you can use that part.
Okay.
Because this SAP CPI is built on Apache Camel framework, which is underlying again use a lot of Java features only. So
Okay.
there is a lot of different kind of data type which you will be able to use it out.
Oh, got you.
So Sam, is
Cool.
this
Thank
a
you.
case sensitive data
Yeah.
type
I
that
have
you're giving?
in a real time scenario, like suppose if I have like if I am getting lots of variables, then do we have that flexibility or visibility to see, like here you have mentioned source value as this order number, right?
Correct.
So as a consultant, how will I get to know this real technical IDs from some other system which I don't have access to?
Any guys, perfect. I think a fair question. So guys, now I think we just started off first. I think I'm good. You are just trying to see on left and right both the side. So now guys, when you have started developing now, so what happens is not that someone will just tell you, okay, I'm sending this payload and just read it out. First, when you are working on any kind of integration project, there is something called a mapping sheet. Okay. When I use that particular mapping sheet, what it says is this is your sender system, this is your receiver system, a structure look like. Okay. For integration developer, generally this happens in a good project, UK, US, Australia, good company. So they will give you a source structure and a receiver system that, okay, these are the fields and you need to map it out. Then once you started getting understanding the things, might be you ask, okay, can you ask, might be a sender system, can you provide me a sample payload? Okay. In case if it says some people gives quickly, might be they just trace their outbounds. Now let's say in case if someone is not able to do it. So how do you do it? You ask them, okay, just send a payload till CPI. First payload, you just take a reference of it. So there are different ways to it. Once you get into just more and more into this training, then you will understand how this bit work out. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So don't worry
And
on yeah.
question on this source type also, like how I will differentiate whether this is X path and like what is the full form of this X path? Like, does it mean something XML or what? X.
It's yes, it is similar to what you just said, but the other features are very different. Now let's say in case if I want to read a value from other headers, I'll use this. If you want to put any store any value on global X variable, this is used. Expression has a different concept constant has a different expect. So just understand that anytime if you want to read input payload in XML
Mhm.
form, then you have to read a XPath only. Okay. These are apart from it, these are other very different features we have available at this level.
So will you cover going forward? Like, actually, I don't want to give like ask
All
so
the
many
options,
questions.
all the options. No, all the things will be covered, guys. I think for me this is important.
Yeah.
I think your number range will be
Yeah.
covered, which what is a local variable. So all these things are covered. I'm just trying to create a one scenario, and I
Okay.
really agree with you guys because there will be definitely multiple questions will come up. But guys, what happens again? I think few things you will be able to understand after going through the expressions, because I was talking about a mapping sheet, because I cannot just directly go to the mapping and just say, okay, how the message mapping works out. But generally, as an integration developer, once you start a project or you get into project, maybe you ask for a mapping sheet. Might be now, let's say if there is a requirement, then you understand how is the sender side message structure and the receiver side. So there are so many things. Just let me just cover a few of the session, 5 6 more sessions, and then you will have a good idea. Okay, Sam. So this is how. Now let's say if I am an integration developer, I am doing some kind of outside India projects. Then this is like how the standard procedure is will follow, because I've seen how Indian domestic market works out, how outside market works out. There is a huge difference. Indian market, they will say start building it up. Outside market, they will give you time to understand. Okay, they'll give you time to actually even analyze it, and then you start building it out. So there is a difference. I'll just make sure that going later, I'll just give you the practical experience also. Okay. So anything else related to this till this particular part, guys? Question? Anything?
You mentioned about Apache something, Apache Camel. What
Okay, guys, I'll talk about that particular part again later. So when we are talking about the CPI, so So now this is an integration framework. Okay, SAP CPI is not something SAP has built from the scratch. Okay, so there is an open source integration framework which is an Apache Camel. SAP is built on top of this particular Apache Camel framework. Underlying architecture, how does it work out? I don't think so it is any kind of a use for you. The reason is like just an ATM machine. Whatever you see at the screen is a CPI screen. How does it go back and process your request, process and bring your money back? That's a very different thing. But this is underlying framework. Now, why I was talking about again this Apache Camel, guys, what kind of a flexibility this tool offer CPA? And if someone has worked on PI, now he'll feel so happy, so relaxed working in a CPA. PI is a very static pipeline, how you define steps and all those things. Whereas if I'm just talking about SAP CPI, it's very easy to use, guys. Trust me. Okay. So this is underlying framework. Once I'm talking about integration architecture part, architecture of SAP CPI, how this nodes interacts, how the request comes into your CPI, how does it get processed, what are the different components, then I'll just talk about this bit. Okay. Anyone else, anything? Cool.
If
Thank you.
if you have multiple nodes, so hello, Sam.
Sorry, if you
Hello.
have, sorry, what? Yeah, I can hear you out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you define the header variable, right? You just go to the
Correct, correct,
content modifier.
correct.
So we have put the expert is expert variable, expert address. But if it is multiple nodes, then so it's a single node over there. So
Mhm,
in your SOAP UI, you can see that it's
mhm.
single node. If it is
Correct,
multiple, then
correct.
the same. So
So
in
yes,
that case,
I
so
think
this
good
variable
point,
will
good
contain
point,
only single value.
good point. So now let's, in case I will just show you real-time system, which I was thinking to show you a little later. So now let's say in case if this is your complex request look like, okay. So what happens is you have the concept of a reference path where you just read node by node. Now let's say if this is your sales order header is a top, and now let's say if I want to use an item node. So sales order / item, and then whatever the specific field you want to read it out, you can do that particular part also. Okay. So we will just talk about that particular part too. But yeah, there is a way to read your field as such. Okay.
Okay,
Does
no,
it
in
help
case of
you?
multiple, for example, so we have two. Yeah,
Hmm?
no, actually not clear, not fully clear. So what I am telling, this is a single node, for example, right? Single, single node. So
Hmm?
if you have multiple nodes, for example, same node, okay. So we have the order number.
Hmm?
So we got the two nodes are there.
Perfect, perfect.
So in
So you are saying if you have multiple nodes, now let's say then you have to use the concept of a loop. Okay. So we have the
yeah,
concept of
that
a
is what.
loop. We have a loop. We have the concept of a loop. We have the concept of a splitter. How do we message a single message? So again, there are different way to process that kind of a message. There is a no one standard way. Okay. So we do have the ways available to address that challenges.
So in that case, here, if you don't put a loop, so this will consider as the first value is the value for the header variable, right?
Correct. So now see again. Okay. I think we are okay. So now let's say now now let's say if I am sending message 1, okay, and might be there is a message 2. In case if there is a single message coming it out, I think it's easy to read the variable of it's easy to read your order numbers. Now let's say there is a case when you're saying in a one message we have a list M1, M2, M3. I'm saying in that particular case, it depends. Okay. Now, let's say if you want to read order number for message 1, order number 2 for message 2, and message order number 3 for message 3. It depends how or what exactly is the reason for reading out the order number. There can be one use case that once you read an order number, might be you have to make an external call to get a shipping details. Okay. So in that particular case, you split messages one by one. First split one, then message 2 will get split and message 3 will get split. That is the splitting concept here into the CPI. So what is your use case as such here? Why you want to split your, why you want to read order number for a combined message?
Okay.
Hello? No. What was your use case? Why you want to, now let's say if there are 10 orders coming out, why you want to read one message? Was there any specific reason for that?
First, for example, so we have multiple, as you have mentioned that, right? M1, M2, M3. There are 3 nodes. Okay, multiple message a list, message in a list. So, but when I'm defining a header variable as a XPath, okay, type XPath, and putting the absolute path, so it will consider the first message one value, or the second message one value, or third message one value. That is what I want to know.
See
And
again,
message
let's
one,
see again. Now definitely if we are passing it for the
I am not
first time,
splitting. I'm not splitting. For example, I am not splitting a list of the messages. I'm just putting straight away. I'm defining header variable, type is XPath, and this path is
guys,
absolute path.
it will fail in that case. It will fail in that particular case.
Okay,
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 because if you have a
okay,
message main node M message M, and then you have 3 message, if you're thinking that I'll give first one, there is chances that it will give error also.
okay,
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 but generally
okay.
if we have a list of messages, so now here you see a single message. If we have a list of message, I'll show you also how the list, because we have that scenario also covered going forward. So we have here now, let's say 8 or 10 orders we are pushing it out from here. How to process that into CPI, that also we have taken care of it. Okay. Okay. So let me
So,
just do one thing.
so you also will take care of multi-level, right? Multi-level data.
Both multi-level, and multi-messages also. Okay.
Okay.
Cool. So let me just do one thing, guys. Let me again just come back to the main point. I think we have just we have taken a lot of bit turn. Now I hope our scenario was clear. I think what we are doing it, we are creating a we are designing a first integration flow, and in that we have added to read order number using content modifier. Then we're going to deploy, then we're going to actually see how this particular part worked out. So here we have defined using a content modifier, we have defined a variable. Source type is XPath. So for any XML input, XPath is a way to read. Just remember that, because this is going to go through your document and look for this particular tag. This is a data type, Java lang string. Just remember that S is capital, J and L is a small. Now once I do a save here, my integration flow is saved. But now you have to understand that part. So once we do say, once we save it, this iFlow has to deploy. Okay. When I say the word deploy, what actually happen is we call it as, let me just deploy it first. So I think it's a very simple, just make sure that after save, if you make a change, click on deploy. So once you do a deploy, you click on yes. This particular, you will get a message that custom integration flow is deployed. I click on OK here. I can quickly go onto this particular node, monitoring node. Now I think we'll just look at the third node, the monitoring node. So here we have seen now discover, design, we have created a package in iFlow. Now comes to the third part, which is a monitoring node. Now here, I think we have to understand two things for today. I think first is your manage integration content, and then your monitor message processing. So now when I'm just talking about your manage integration content, so now let's say if you have your iFlows and you click on deploy. So currently you have 29 iFlows, and out of which 25 are running, might be 3 are in a failed status. So if you want to see if your message is deployed or not, you can click on this all manage integration tab, give your iFlow name, Okay, so here in my case, it says Z custom first indication flow. So you will see a message here. It is starting, restart and deploy. That's it. So I can just quickly click on this just to make sure by the time this gets started. So once this is started, then what will happen is I can actually send a message or a request from outside to the CPI box. So now I'm going to wait here. I think this take time. I think it all depends on what kind of resources you have taken from SAP. I think for production, it's a bit quick, but this is a quality type system. So once I click on this particular part, yeah, this is okay, perfect. So now if you just look at here, this is tested. Okay, so this has started running now. Okay, so now you see this particular status shows started. Now I think the one important thing which we have to understand here is, now you see I was talking about one important thing, which is your which is that if I have to send a request from this outside to CPI. So now let's say if I have to send a request from this outside to the CPI, so there has to be some kind of a unique point. Okay. Okay. So there is some kind of an endpoint which is required. So now in this particular case, once you come to the manage indication part, you will see there are different kind of tabs available. I think first you can just look at when this was deployed by, version, ID, which is the package this particular iFlow belongs. Now again, small things, but trust me, if you look at 2-3 years back, once your iFlow is deployed, you will not see even the package name where this is deployed. And now let's say if you have 6 or 7 packages where we have multiple iFlows, you go and check. But now again, I think this has been smoothened here. Now this says the endpoint, and endpoint is the address on this particular CPI tenant where from outside, now let's say in case if I have to drop a message packet, I have to send it here. Okay, so this is my endpoint. Okay, so which is again, just look at the difference from your URL tenants. It says your system ID, IFL map, HSIBT AP1 hana.ondemand.com. Then it get automatically prefixed with CXF and then ZXF integration flow. So now I'm sure you remember that this was the name we have given it address with the /. CXF stands for CelTX fire. I'll just talk might be more on the architecture part, but I think just holistically this get automatically prefixed due to framework only. Okay, due to this overall CPI framework, this will get automatically prefixed here. Now, in case I hope everyone do understand the endpoints. Now, just to understand in more basic terms. Now, let's say if this is a dynamic society, wherever you come with the, in case if you want to get a new house, you will get it. So now this is house 1, this is house 2 till your house 9, let's say. Okay, so these are the different kind of houses. Now let's say we have, come on. Okay, so now I think just to give you a very lame example. So now let's say if there is a society now where we have different houses, and now if we get any kind of courier, so we do have address where we can actually drop the message packet or the courier. So now the same way happens with the CPI. So now let's say if this society is a CPI, okay, your specific tenant, in my case E1473. Now let's say if we have a different kind of iflow which gets created. So all the iflow which gets created, they get a unique endpoint here. Okay, they get a unique endpoint which is like their specific address on this CPI system. Now I hope you remember initially I was just talking about ESB messaging dot send. So now what happens is ESB stands for Enterprise Service Bus. So now let's say if any time from outside any kind of a message comes into the CPI, so it goes into this bus, which is Enterprise Service Bus, and based on the address, now let's say for this particular address, it will see where that particular address is located. So now let's say in my particular case, it is ZX integration flow. Okay. Now once this particular message comes into the CPI, with this address, it will go on to the ESB bus, and now might be if that address is here, so it will drop or call that particular interface or drop that particular message packet to the integration flow. So this is how, I think in lame term, I hope you can do understand that how it actually works out. So you design the integration flow, you deploy it. Once you deploy, there is a unique endpoint which gets created. And based on that particular endpoint, you can give this endpoint to the outside that if there is any message packet has to be dropped. So you can say, just drop at this particular point. This is the concept of an endpoint here. Again, I'll just talk about this particular part later. WSDL without policies, and then that's it. Okay. Then we have a status, artifacts, or log. Okay, so we have this different kind of information which is available. Now, again, in case if any of your iFlow goes while deploying, while might be once you have put things into your iFlow while deploying, there's an error. You will be able to see it here. You have to make sure that once you click on deploy, you come to this point and you just validate if your iFlow is up and running. Okay, so this part is your manage integration content. Guys, any question? I hope everyone do understand what is the concept of ESB messaging and what is the endpoint for an iFlow. Anyone, any kind of things on this specific thing? Any question?
Clear.
Okay, great. Thank you. So now I think I do have an endpoint with me. So now let's say I am ready to send a message packet from the outside. So I go to this particular SOAP tool. Now, in case if you're using this particular SOAP tool for the first time, I think it's bit easy. So now again, I go on to that point. I think that custom integration flow. I think this is the one what we just have created. I'll just copy it here. I'll go to my SOAP UI tool. So here on the top, you see no endpoint set. Click on this drop down, click on add a new endpoint. Just give the complete address here. Click on OK, and that endpoint will get linked here. Now here, I think I want to just send a sample payload. So I'll just pass order number 101. Customer name, let's say SAP. Order amount is, let's say, 1,000. Currency is USD. Tax amount is 10. Okay. So now let's say if this is the information which I need to pass it out. Okay. Or which I want to send it to the CPI. So now we have the endpoint, which we have the payload. Now I think one again important thing is in authorization, you have to enable the credentials here as such. Okay. Add new authorization type basic. In case if you're not comfortable here, I think here you can just give the username and a password. I think both are okay. Okay, so I have now given my username and a password. So now what I'm going to do here is,
Can we pass the email ID?
What is this?
okay, guys, now let's say in
User
case if you say,
password.
if, okay, now guys, here what happens is, now let's say in case if I have to send my request from outside to the CPI. So now let's say in case if I have to send it to the server, I need to have credentials also, na? Okay. So in this particular case, I'm going to use the S user or my login ID here into the SOAP tool so that I can send my request. So no email ID, you cannot pass it out. You need to have a credentials. Now let's say if you're using a trial account, again, for trial account, I'll tell you all the concept of a service keys, what we have discussed the last time. With that keys only, you will be able to send a request. Just do remember that particular part. Okay. I hope this is clear now. Because if I'm sending something from outside
Yep.
to SAP server, it's not that I can just without credentials I'll be able to pass out. I need to pass the credentials. Cool. So I'm gonna be here. I am gonna click on. So this is my endpoint. This is my credential. This is how my message page look like. Now, in case if I want to send or simulate, submit this request to the endpoint. So once I do that particular part, now comes to the second important bit. So guys, anytime in case if you want to monitor your messages, okay, so you can actually see the first tab, all integration flows and failed, completed or retry message. So you'll be able to see the complete entry here. So I'll just do one thing. I'll just take a snip here. I'll just take a snip. Okay, let me just put this also. Okay. So now let's say in case if I want to see my messages green or fail, I can just come to this particular tab. So now I'll just tell you all the shortcut later. I don't want to just talk about shortcuts today. So now let's say if I just click on the completed messages. So now you'll see the message has come up. Why? Because you see your integration flow Z custom first integration flow. Now you will see the message has come successfully to this particular point. Okay. Now I'm sure you would be a bit happier. Okay, yeah, Sam, I can just see I'm able to see my message payload here on this particular step. Now once your message gets completed, so again there are different options, statuses, properties, logs, and your artifact details here. I'm sure in case if you're for the first time, guys, again I'm saying don't hurry it up for the first time. Once you deploy it and once you come to monitor, just look at all the options carefully. Okay, what are the different kind of options what SAP provides? Because how carefully you will look at for the first time, trust me, it will just save your again coming and see, okay, what was option, what was option no. So we are just going to look at one time what are the different when this was updated, message ID, correlation ID. In case if you don't understand, okay, there is no harm, but just look at the options. Okay, what are the options available on the top? Okay, so if you just look at here, it shows all the messages past minute, past hour, past week. What are the different statuses in case if you want to filter it out. Now here the artifacts in case if you want to look for a specific iflow or in case if you want to filter by ID. All these things are there. Or then we have log and then we have artifact detail. And I'm sure everyone who is for the first time would be interested. Sam, we have sent a payload. How can I look this payload into the CPI system because we are not able to validate it here. So yeah, I'll say yeah, you are correct because if you are not able to see it, then it does not make sense. So first, if you are for the first time, log level is info. We have this open text view. So once I click on this particular part, so a specific set of information come up. After seeing it, does anyone able to relate anything as such here? Anything related to payload? Anything related to payload?
Maybe message GUID.
Sorry? Anything related to payload, guys. I'm not saying, I'm
Yeah,
not
it's a message
saying
GUID.
message GUID, but is it related to anything related to your payload, what we send from here?
No, no fields
Okay.
and no.
See, this is just a technical information what we have provided. Now, trust me, when I did started working with this tool close to 2014 and 15, that time, this was the only information in a log you used to get it when this tool was HCI, HANA Cloud Integration. Okay, then again, there was again concept of a scripting, reading a payload, showing somewhere. Now again, I think things have been improved. So if you come across this monitoring tab, it is not that kind of a information it is providing you. So again, let me just quickly put all the text once I forget. So here we'll just see all the adapters which we are using it out. So now let's say if I just talking about monitoring message. So now I think monitoring, as I mentioned, is important. So currently with log level, okay, information, it just give technical information, but nothing related to message payload. Okay, because we don't have anything here, any information related to your message payload. Now comes to the second important part. So now let's say in case if I am interested in more information, how can I do that bit? In case if you want to enable information about your payload, about your iFlow, click on the monitoring tab, go to the manage integration content. This is your first iFlow. If you go at log configuration, below you have few options which is available. Okay, we have your info, we have your debug, and then we have your trace which is enabled. Now let's say if I'm just talking about info, we have seen it. Now I'm sure I want to explore more and I want to see what are the different options we have available here. So I'll just click on debug here. Now you will see a pop-up. I'm sure people quickly ignore, change, and then leave it. Again, if you're for the first time, I want you to come at this particular screen and just look at very carefully. What does it says? It says, are you sure you want to log level from input debug? Okay. Now click on view details. So it says very clearly, detailed information will be recorded for all the steps during processing. It should be used in a test environment only. If you are for the new, definitely you will not be able to relate out why test they have written it out. Again, there is a concept of memory, why we should not enable it out, but this is one line to read it out. Anytime again, guys, I'm saying anytime if you're trying for any kind of steps into the CPI system, if there is any kind of information change pop up, just read it. Just read it. It'll help you. Trust me. The SAP is not that free also that okay, let me just put this information pop up. No, they will not. So I'll click on change. So now log level for this particular iFlow has been changed. I'll click again. I go back again to this monitoring tab or operations tab. Now again, I want to send my message request. So now let's say in case if this time I just change an order number just for a reference so that. So here what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna again submit a request again to the endpoint. I'll again come back here. You see this is a Fury based tile, so this should get without refresh, this should get automatically increased by counter. So if you don't click again and again on refresh, this will get automatically this counter will get automatically increased. So we just do again click on this just to due to habits only, but this is dynamic style, all are dynamic tiles. So now if I go to the second message here, this is now a recent message which we see get executed, which is 2058. I select that particular part and I have a debug option. Now, once you've enabled a debug option, I'm sure you will be able to see little more information that what we have in information mode. Now, if I click on the debug mode here, you will see the complete steps, okay, of your iFlow. Okay, when I say complete step of your iFlow, okay, So now I think this is loaded. So if you look at here now, whatever the sequence of your message processing. So now let's say if a request comes from a sender and then get processes multiple step and end. So you will see here this steps in a sequence from bottom to top. Okay, so SOAP is first, content is second, end is third, and then you might tell me tomorrow that why this fourth SOAP is coming out. Okay, you tell me. I'm not going to tell you. You just tell me why this fourth, again why this SOAP comes out. Now, if you look at, I'm sure I'm happy then what I have seen in the information mode. Why? Because that was a completely technical information. We don't have anything to see there. But here, you look at your message payload comes, it goes into a sequence and it goes till end. Now the beauty part is here. It talks about sequence, bottom
Did
to
you
top.
select synchronous?
Sorry.
Did we select synchronous process?
Correct. That is the reason it is showing the SOAP again, because here if you look at, we have just connection request reply. That's why after end this will reply back to this SOAP. So that's why this SOAP is coming twice. But that's not a point. Let's come that part later. So here, three things. Okay, I think the first is you will be able to see how your iflow get executed. Here you can see from bottom to top the sequence, and the third is you can even see that runtime, the properties also, that okay, what was my property here? Okay, what I have actually defined it out. Now, one beautiful more thing I see is a log content. Now let's see what is there in the log content. So if I just look at the log content, so now let's say if, on this log content, it just talk about status, CXF endpoint, okay, and the response, nothing as such very critical. If I go to content modifier, log content again, it says in activities set header order number. So and I'm sure if I have this message executed correctly, my order number would have been set, because they have this getters and setters, technically I'm telling you, so it would have set my order number. In the properties, you will have process step, segment, model step, start time, duration, and a description. Again, we see this word exchange ID. I'll just talk about this exchange ID concept later. Again, that's a theoretical concept, but how a message gets executed in a container in a CPI, that's how your exchange ID is. So guys, seeing this information, okay, might be, I'll go to end step. Okay, so this here it says duration, activity, set property, some markers as fail, exchange ID, that's it. Do you think that you now have a more information about the message packet, or do you think that whatever the information what we are looking for is, have we got that information? Just think for a minute and just tell me. Do you think whatever the desired information was required, do we have it?
No. No.
Order ID I don't have.
I don't see the payload yet.
Sorry guys, I was just speaking on mute. Yeah, you are correct. We don't see any kind of order ID, and even we don't see a payload. Okay, so we don't see even a payload here into the system. So whatever the payload we have sent, we haven't seen it. Anything you are able to see it here, or just seeing this message packet, anything you can look at, any kind of observation you want to draw it?
Log content, I think. Log content.
Sorry?
Log content.
Okay, so you're saying the log content is available. So yeah, log content is available. I think it again talks very technically about the message. Now, yeah, I think few of you are correct. We don't see any kind of a much information here. I think, but we have to understand that here still it shows a visual representation of how the message has gone through. Okay, I'm sure it is better than your info mode. I think the second thing what we have to understand at this particular step is if you look at the message, okay, it just talks about a sequence again here. If you just look at carefully, the message packets look like white. Okay, it's not filled, so it will not show the message content in the debug mode. So what it will show is it shows the technical visualization plus uh, technical visualization sequence sequence. Okay, so this is what we see in the debug mode.
Sam, at least I can get if I have a conditional flow, at least I know which path it has traversed to this mode.
Perfect. Yes, that's what that's what I've written. Technical visualization plus sequence. You're correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Now let's say if we're just talking about all this information. Okay. Now definitely we do have one more mode is available. So definitely I am like full mode. Okay, that this is going to help me a lot. So now what I'm gonna do is again I would just switch my mode from a debug mode to the trace mode and see what is the option it shows. But I'll just do one thing again for a reference. I'll just take the screenshots. The only advantage is that if you're going for any next time, you can just quickly, you will be able to understand. Okay, how the visual, because if you will see, there will be a difference between what you will see in the debug mode and your trace mode. So now again, let me just explore the trace mode because for me now it becomes important that what more information the trace can give me. So again, to enable that particular part, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to again go to my monitor or operations tab. Again, I go to manage integration content and I'm going to actually enable now one more mode, which is my trace mode. Now just remember this particular part. So whenever you change from your log information from info to debug or info to trace, you see that there is a time till when it is set. So for a debug, it says log level debug expires at Feb 7 2058, like close to for it is there for might be for your 10 minutes, I think. Okay. After expiry, the log level switches back to info. So this is not your permanent log. So once you put a debug, so it will be every time into debug. No, I'll tell you why this is, but later. Again, I'm gonna put it back to the trace. Again, there's a few details and I'm pretty much interested. So now this time the text is a bit longer. Now let's just go through it. What it says, detail information including message content. Okay. So now finally, this is a mode which is going to give me a message content. I'll write it. Detailed information including message content will be recorded for all the steps during processes. It should be used in test environment only. Log level trace expire after configured time period, typically 10 minutes. So your trace, if you set that 21.908, so till 9:18 it will be there. After that, it will get automatically put back to the previous log state, previous log level. Okay. Trace data. So now whenever we have a message content data for an iFlow, okay, for the executed integration flow, it says that trace data is removed after the configure retention time, typically 1 hour. So there is a specifically the message. Okay, so now I'll put it to change. Now again, once you just make a change, you don't have to do anything. Don't do any restart and deploy or download. You just have to put a trace, go back to the messages. Now this time again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to send a request. And we have your, like, let's say now just order a machine just for a purpose so that we can actually see if we are really reading the particular payload. I'm going to click on again submit a request. I'll just go back here automatically. I don't have to refresh. Automatic discount has been increased to 3. I'll click on this particular message, and now once I select, again I'll go to the log level information. Again for a trace, there is a hyper mode. I'll click on the trace button, and now you will see a different tab, one more tab, because last time once we see for a debug, it was integration flow and a log content. Now in this particular case, we have a log content plus a message content. Okay. So now let's, in case if I want to validate what was the payload coming inside a CPI system, so I know we have this option available. So again, I'll just take a screenshot of it. So anytime if you want, someone asks what exactly is the differentiate between a debug mode and a trace mode, then you can just say very quickly, okay, that for a debug mode, we will not see a message content, but for sure for your trace, we would be able to see the message content. So this is the difference between a debug mode and your trace mode. Now here, now let me just quickly go back to the screen. I think things remain the same. Your sequence again of your message from your sender till end will be bottom to top. So this is how you will be able to see your sequence of messages. Now let's say if I want to see what was the payload at reaching from SOAP till content modifier. I go to the message content. If I look at the payload, so this is the information what we have sent. Order number is 103, isthmus, order amount, your currency, and your tax amount. So this is what the request what we have passed here from the SOAP UI tool. Now coming back to this particular screen again. Now here we have, now this was the first step. So now let's say at this particular step, we have written a step to read my order number. So in case if I want to see what action has done at this step, I have to go at next step because here it will be recorded. So here at end, if I go on to the message content, I click on the header because I have created my variable header. So on the header only, so I'll see here header, exchange properties, and a payload. So if you look at header, we have read the order number 103. Okay. So now you can understand that yes, my message was, we were able to push our message from outside into CPI, and then we have written a small configuration to transform my message. So guys, the good part is now your message is one message, your message is a huge whatever. Now you know how to push a message to tell your CPI part. Now comes to the part of your transformation. It's not that we are not going to talk about the connectivity. So whatever the standard connectivity, we will talk about that bit also later stage. But your main intention to become integration developer, where you transform the message, now would be happening it here. Okay. Now one message is here. Now we are going to, in our further sessions, now we are going to see how to actually transform the logic to build some complex iFlow, or might be, let's say, in case if someone gives you standard iFlow and they say, okay, let me know how this message is getting executed. You can quickly understand that part. Now let's say if someone says now enhance a message, you will understand, okay, how a message will come here, what are the different information we need to look at. Again, there are some kind of other technical information we have, it might we will discuss later. But the idea was how to create a basic iFlow, how to deploy it, and now let's say in case if you want to record into the system, how you can do that particular part. Now, one more important information what we have to understand was what was there in the trace. So now this trace will be there for 10 minutes. And if in case if you want to see this values of message content, that will be only available for 1 hour. Okay, not more than that. So this is a beauty of your trace where you can actually record the steps, see the message payload at a specific step, and you can understand while developing iFlow where in case if you want to fix it out. So again, it's a very flexible approach what you have with your tracing features. Now let me just quickly go back again. We have one more mode is there. Okay, before going from at this particular screen, anyone has any kind of questions?
Yes, Sam. It
In
says it's
production,
a
what
from.
happens? Like suppose in production there is some problem, and if trace is deleted within 1 hour, and suppose if some offshore team is there, so they will not get any message, then how they will resolve the problem?
I think you have asked a very practical question. But as for a day one, I think is you'll not be able to you'll not be able to relate it out. Okay, so definitely, as you have seen in that trace information message also, what it says, it is only to be enabled in a trace in test environments, not in the production. So for production, I'll tell you what practical things we do for the production systems. Okay.
Yes, I
Yep.
think it's a continuation to that question only. It says it is configured only for 10 minutes or 1 hour, right? So SAP might have configured it somewhere to delete the trace. Do we know where it is, or can we change
No,
it
no,
or
no,
customize?
no, no, no. This is a standard feature in the, so we don't have any kind of
Oh,
a control on that particular part.
okay.
Yep. And guys, I really appreciate. What I'm gonna do here is I think what kind of question you're asking. I think I know the few people have done things in a system because that's how you're asking that practical questions. So in case if you can just mail me this question, or I'll just do one thing. I'll just create a notepad with the questions. Okay, and might be once that we reach at this particular page, I'll be able to explain you. These are fair, very nice questions. If you're talking about yes, how production system will do, or what are the different ways of seeing a data, how do we actually get, I think there was a question that how, Sam, we are going to know what is the payload they're sending out, because this is a fact. This is an obvious important question if you look at logically. But yeah, on day one when we started this training, I think last week only, so I'll answer all the particular part. But in case if you can just mail me these questions, because to all the group member here, it is going to help you a lot, because then you will have a practical experience, because I'm also going to talk about from the implementation perspective also. Okay, but if you can just mail me this question that Sam, okay, these are my 4 or 5 questions, might be I will just follow it up with you after 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And it's a good approach, guys. Okay, I've seen outside other people do, they just keep track of their notes and questions. So yeah, if you have these questions, just keep track with them and drop me email. So might be when we are reached the particular stage, we'll just talk about it. Now, coming back to one more pointer, guys, you understand that when we're talking about the SOAP, again, might be initially, if you just look at whatever the request I was passing it out here, again, it was copying the same. I think the reason is because while configuring my SOAP adapter, in a connections, what I have done is I have put it a request reply. So as I mentioned, request reply is asynchronous. So once you send a request, so I would expect a response. That's the reason, again, after an end of message, there's an entry for a SOAP. So that was a question here. So I would highly appreciate, guys, in case if you can just start creating your iFlow and just build one iFlow. Now, one important note for you guys. For a trial system, okay, for a trial system, whenever you are sending a request from your SOAP tool, use whatever the keys we have generated. Okay, in the last step of setting up a trial account, we have a keys. Just pass that particular keys while sending a request. Don't use your username and a password from SOAP. You need to pass that particular keys, and then you will be able to send a request. In case if you are not able to solve it out, drop me mail. I'll be able to help you out. Now comes to
Just
the last
question.
part.
Where do we need to send the keys in SOAP UI, Sam? If you could quickly show, that will be helpful.
Username and a password. Username and a password. Whatever
Okay.
the keys we have generated, so you need to pass that in that particular username and password. Okay. Now coming to again to the next important point.
It
So
is
guys,
nothing but
here,
SU's ready, right? SU's ready and your login password.
guys, in case if you're using a real-time system, then it's your S user ID. In case if you're using a trial system, then use the keys. Okay.
Okay.
In case if you're using a real-time system, then yes, it's as user. But for a trial system, you need to pass a keys which we have generated in the last step, service keys. If you go to this document and the last step we have the service keys, use that particular bit.
I think in the service key it says client ID, which is the username, and the client secret is the password.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, that's the one, Manju. Okay. Now, guys, this is what we have seen, creating a first basic iFlow, I think the minimalistic, and then how to deploy it, how to manage your content, and how to actually monitor it out. I think the last part is now for your Z custom integration flow. I think that there's a one last log option available, which is none. So again, I sure you want to change the log level from debug to null. Again, it says no data will be got during a message during message processing. There will be no information about process message in the monitor. So what do you think, guys? In case if you enable a none, what will happen at all? Anyone? So now let's say in
I
case
don't
if you
think
have enable
so. I don't think so. We see the count itself. Everything is hidden, or it'll not even show.
yeah, yeah. Actually, some people actually do this trick part so that they get confused if message is really reaching it out. So now let's say in case if I send a request now at this particular endpoint, now what will happen is if I go here onto the tab, you will not see any kind of a message. If I go to all integration flows, okay, now you'll not see even the message recorded into the tenant. So sometime people actually use this for pun intended, but yeah, uh, that's is your none log. Okay, so if you enable a none, you will not see even entry here into monitoring tab.
But process is
So
happening, right?
yeah, processing will will happen at out, guys, for sure. Because if you see a response in a response again, the snow this response I see in the here into this particular screen. Okay, so it means the it has been processed.
Okay.
Again,
Technically, it's not the best practice, right?
definitely it's not a best practice. I think it's always have it is a good practice to keep it info because there are different ways to record your payload as such. Okay, so definitely it's not a good practice. So might be, guys, what you can do is I'll just quickly wrap it up. So might be I think you can just try one more time yourself just to practice it out. Just just create your integration flow. Okay, just integration flow. I think whatever the steps we have done it, just try it out. Install SOAP UI and Postman if you don't have it. Okay, I'll share the WSDL today. I'll just mail you the WSDL so that I'll share this WSDL so that you can just even add to your project and just try to simulate a request and pass it to the CPI. Then just look at into monitor tab. Okay, both manage integration. Okay, again there are so many things we have it. Might we'll just talk going forward. Then we have your manage and then we have your monitor bit. So both in manage or if we just talk about the monitor part here, you will actually see a lot of functionalities. I want that first time if you're looking it out because I just have showed you very holistically how it overall the process works out. But I really want that you go inside it, look at what all each and option available. So anytime if someone is talking, ask you where to undeploy it or where might we have to change the modes, where you see the message ID and all those things. So just give it a good look at to different kind of options which are available. Might be when we meet for the next session, we will just start looking it out with a different use cases scenario. Okay, how does we explore on the different properties? Because now let's say we're just talking about this is a one scenario. Then we have some other scenario where we don't want this iFlow to be triggered from the outside. We want this particular this iFlows to be auto triggered. So how to do that particular one. So there are so many things we are going to look at in our upcoming sessions. So guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you.